Welcome back to the Shipyard. Yeah, I know it's been a bit, but it's been a bit. Um, yeah, the Xindi faction. We gotta fix it because they got like maybe two good cards, two really good cards. Very thematic faction, but still, we can do better. All right, we're gonna go in two by two because that's the best way to look at stuff. Weapon Zero. This is a great ship. 6080. Don't let that don't get caught up in that. The ability here, fantastic. When defending, you get to roll defense dice for every hit or crit coming in at you for the cost of an Ox Power token. Great slots. I mean, one crew, but three weapons, a tech slot. Don't discount that tech slot. Only 30 points for this. 30 points for a 6-die ship. 8 durability. Ways we can put on more shields. I like Weapon Zero, brings a lot to the table. All right. Azadi Prime. This is a 4163. When defending during the roll attack die step, you may discard token from beside your ship to force the attacking ship to roll one less attack die. Why would I discard an evade token? I think if we want to keep the spirit of this, 2 less attack dice. Just roll 2 less. That to me would actually do something. But 1 less, I just don't see the need or the benefit. Other than that, I'm actually a decent fan of everything that this brings. It's just a little too expensive. We bring it down in cost. It is better. It brings something to the table. Just not a ton. The aquatic cruiser is a big ship. It is heavy. I would have loved to have seen it on like a medium-sized base, maybe not as big as the Weapon Zero or the Borg Tactical Cube, but I still feel like Attack Wing needs something between the 1-inch small bases and the 2-inch big bases, 1.5 medium base. That would have been perfect for this ship. All right, the generic weapon, 6080, does get the discount to 28 points. Needs to be cheaper because it doesn't bring anything outside of being a large ship. So that's my fix there. Plus it loses battle station action, and that's a big loss. Kalindra, the other aquatic cruiser. Also does trade a weapon slot for a tech. 3 tech on a big ship can be interesting. Xindi have okay tech, but spending your target lock to reroll defense dice when you roll 1 naturally is just not something I'm going to be doing. And trying to buff up the defense dice on an aquatic cruiser is a really tough sell. So I kind of want to rethink this whole ability. Even if it was something like an evade lets you roll an extra defense die. Something like that. Generic aquatic cruiser is fine, just needs to be cheaper. Xindis, the reptilian warship. Love the ability. 1 less time token on it. Just wish it was cheaper. Really, that's the fix here. It's a great ability, but, fix it. The Maratus, disabling a shield to reroll attack dice. I would have rather seen something just play with time tokens. Put time tokens on the ship to do it. Or maybe if you have a scan token, you can do it. Because just losing the shield, I get that it's an ability, but I'm not in love with it. I just want to tweak it a little bit so that it's actually effective. Or if you're going to force me to reroll, if you're going to force me to disable an active shield, then let me get all of my dice rerolled. That would be my trade-off. All right, the Diaspora. This is now our small ship. I like the trade-off of the battle station token being flexible. That works for me. Slots are good. Ship's too expensive. The movement dial also is not great. I would have loved 1 turns. Yes, I will die on that hill. Generic reptilian warship does need to be cheaper. The Orasan, again, the insectoids want to play with battle stations. I want to change this in its entirety. I would have said when attacking during the modified attack dice step, if you have a battle station token beside your ship, you may convert one of your hit results into a crit. Just let it exist rather than having to spend. Because if you roll hit battle station, you're stuck. You're in a tough choice, and that to me just is not a good place to put yourself. Generic again needs to be cheaper, but that's it. I like it in that 14-ish place. It doesn't get the same synergy the Jem'Hadar attack ships get, so I'm okay with it being even cheaper than them. Arming sequence, an 8-point elite talent. This can only go on the Xindi weapon, so boy, we are making the Xindi weapon expensive. This is thematic. This card is very thematic. It takes 3 actions to make it happen, which is a really tough sell, right? Now, it can be the first 3 turns of the game, but the moment you put a mission token on it, you're going speed 1. You can't do any other actions. Sorry. You take the first action. You place mission tokens during the activation phase, but you can't do other actions. And then you have to have another weapon. This is the Borg all over again, with their tractor beam and cutting beam and all that. And this just lets you roll more dice. I gotta find Destructive Blast. Yeah, here's Destructive Blast. It rolls 5 dice. Anyway, arming sequence should not cost 8 points. It is so limited. It hurts you so much. I'm fine with it keeping everything about this text, but it should be like a 4-point card. Maybe 5. But a 4-point card to get those bonus 3 dice. It caps at rule of 3. And it limits your maneuvers and kills your actions. Yeah. Destructive Blast. I'm skipping Subspace Vortex. We'll come back to it. Yeah, you get a straight line attack at range 3. 1 attack against in. And you lose dice for every additional ship. I mean, I love the thematicism there. It is a very connected card. Sorry, my cat is being irritating. Yeah, there's not a ton I'd change here other than I got to make it cheaper. And I know that's annoying. I know that's the cop-out answer. But I want to make it cheaper. / I want to give it either more firepower or quality firepower. Because you're not getting an action typically to make it hurt. To put on any kind of target lock quality. Or if you do, it's only one time. The weapon 0 does not have an ability that gives you consistent quality. And Destructive Blast is just an afterthought. It's something you're not running. It's too expensive. So I don't think the answer is to make it like 2 points, then everyone's running it. But a 4-point weapon, I think that could be played. Now, Subspace Vortex, in Utopia at least, has this no OP play symbol because it's a jump card. It's one of the remove your ship from the play area. And it's a thematic card for what the Xindi did. They had these subspace vortices. I like that this one keeps your Ox Power tokens. I like that it's an action. I think if all of the jump cards were like this, we wouldn't have seen the same abuse, and I don't see any reason to change it. All right, attack, the Phase Deflector Pulse. I genuinely don't remember much about this card, so I have to read it for a moment here. So it's when you bump. You get to do an extra 2 straight. I like that. Yeah, and so if you do that, you get to keep your perform action. Okay, so that's a cool idea, but it's so situational. I don't see why it needs to cost 5 points. Now, it's the same reason I don't see why Ilea needed to cost, gosh, I think she's 4. A card like this, yes, it's extra maneuver. And extra maneuvering is a really good idea. But this has a cause to it. You have to, or a clause to it. You have to have that bump. And if you don't have the bump, you don't get this. Plus, it's a discard. So I think Phase Deflector Pulse could easily be a 2-point card, and nobody bats an eye, and somebody runs it. Plus, it can only go on a Xindi ship. So I don't think that hurts. I think that actually makes Xindi go, hey, I got a card that I like. And I don't think that's a bad thing. All right, the Insectoid Rifleman. 5-point action. If your ship's not cloaked, disable. All right. Perfectly good in an Enterprise era game because you're going to have ships that don't have shields. So does it work there as it's costed? Yes, absolutely. The way I look at this is, how do I make this work in the grand scheme of all things attack wing? So I would, my go-to just says make it cheaper so that it doesn't feel like this big, huge wasted investment in case I never get to use it. And that's what I'm gonna go with. The neurotoxin. I like the concept of neurotoxin. I like the protection. The concern I have is that just about every other protection ability, Mazzotti is one that stands out. They're cheap. They're cheap protection. They're 2, 1, 3-point cards. And since this does a feedback, I'm okay with it costing more than those, but I would try to keep it at like 3. All right, the prototype weapon. You got to lose your captain, so it better be good. You put a mission token out within range 1 of your forward arc and do a 360 attack up to range 2. But you're losing an attack die. I guess it's a 5 die for the first one, and then I read that as 4 dice for every ship after that. It can go on a Xindi ship. I'm okay with this card. And, yeah, I think it brings a lot to the table, and I'm good with it as it is. Cat. Sorry, you're all going to meet my cat. Or not. Come here. Ugh. This is Frankie. Frankie's a pain sometimes. All right. The Aquatic Counselor. I like the concept of Aquatic Counselor. When defending, you can disable a card to roll an additional defense die, or you can discard to roll more defense dice. That's great, but have we heard of time tokens? How cool would it be to say, like, you can put 2 time tokens to roll 1 additional defense die, or 3 time tokens to roll 2 additional defense dice? Like, to me, that would have been a cool play. You know, we can experiment with optional effects. And I like that. The other thing I would have done would have been a consistent ability, right? A 5-point disable for 1 is a really harsh effect. That's 1 time where it's better than an evade, and after that, you're spending an action to get an evade. And not even. It's 3/8 of an evade. So this is necessarily worse than an evade. But if you time token it, then you get something. Yeah, so Aquatic Counselor at the very least needs to be cheaper. I recommend time tokens, and we'll go from there. Ibex Dynasty, or Ibex Dynasty. Great card. Seen it played a whole bunch. Love it. Don't want to change it. Weapon slots can be very useful. And the fact that this is attack cancellation is even better. All right. Self-destruct. A tech. An action. Target everybody within range 1. They all suffer A damage. It's just, if the Xindi weapon, because you can only buy this for the Xindi weapon, if the Xindi weapon blows up, it's going to do a bit more than 1 damage. So what I would have liked to have seen, how about you roll dice for each of your remaining hull points? So if you got 5 damage, you got 3 hull left. So roll 3 dice. Do that damage, minimum of 1 damage guaranteed. Right? How about 1 damage plus that die roll? I think that would have worked. Keep the discard tokens? Sure. I think that's a cool play. My ship's going down. I'm taking this anyways. And I'm going to try to take you out with me. I also think that would have been a cool ability to bake into the weapon, so that it had a little more utility in and of itself. So maybe make this a 1-point card, because it can only go on a Xindi weapon. Build it in. So keep it as it is, make it a 1-point card. Enhance it, make it like a 3-pointer. All right, dominant species. If you're going to make a card cost 5 points, don't make it re-roll. Convert dice. Convert. It's a discard. It works 1 time. I want to cancel your hits, or cancel your canceling of my hits. I want my hits to go through. I am the dominant species. You're not evading my attack. Those 2 evades you got lucky and rolled, no, they're off the board. My hits are going through. Tough luck. Better luck next game. All right? That's dominant species. Okay. Thalen. See, the Xindi did this thing. Weird design. Where people became elite talents So for one, Thalen should be a crew. Add one weapon slot. Uh, if it's a Xindi weapon, it costs two less. When firing a secondary weapon, you may disable this card to get +1 attack die, up to a max of 6 dice for any weapon. Okay, Thalen's okay, right? You're getting a 2-point discount because you're gonna use this for a Xindi weapon. You're getting an extra attack die because, let's face it, that's what you're gonna do. I'd still prefer time tokens on Thalen than the disable, but I can live with the disable. I can live there. That still doesn't justify 5 points. Justifies 4. The slot cost should knock it down one more. Let's make it a 3-coster. Okay? So it still doesn't pay for itself. Right? You're still paying 1 to get a disable bonus attack die. And a weapon slot. But Xindi ships have weapons. Every single one of them has 2 weapon slots. So I don't see the problem. I guess you don't have to put this on a Xindi ship, but you're gonna. Okay, Retaliation. This one's at least interesting. I've argued that this card is interesting. When another ship in your fleet's destroyed, immediately make another attack with your primary weapon at -1 attack die. And if you can't, you get +3 attack dice on your next attack. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? The problem is, if you're the first one to die, you're out of luck. So I would give this, I know this is such a text-heavy card, but I'd give it, I'd give it an ore ability that would let me do a little something if I was destroyed first. And that would simply be to do 1 damage to the ship that destroyed me. I think that's fair. That's a counter-strike play. That is literally retaliation in a lot of games. And it's just saying, hey, if you kill me first, I at least get to do maybe a crit, a face-up damage to your hull, regardless of your shields, that you can't cancel. So yeah, I'm either making an attack or I'm putting a crit on you. And I can keep that at 5. I'd prefer it at 4, but I can keep that at 5. All right. Subspace Vortex is actually a cool tech. Getting an extra 4, 5, or 6 straight can really be a powerful tool. It's mostly a mission tool, but there are times you want to rush the enemy. Problem is, it's an action, so you're typically not prepared for combat when you do this. But there are ways you can set up. You can set up on an angle, do a turn and then a straight, or like use it to get up right behind a planet and then be ready for combat in the next round. Whereas otherwise you wouldn't necessarily be there in round 2. And I think there's some play there, or you can use this to get away. And I think maybe that's the better play here, is using Subspace Vortex to get away. Sorry, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of strategy, but this does have a good place in the game. I still don't think it's worth 5 points. I think dropping it down to 4, maybe even 3, makes it a whole lot better. All right, Biometric Hologram. The Xindi have so many cards that cost 5. When attacking, discard it to gain +2. If it hits, you get to disable a bunch of stuff. That's great. So, it works nicely on, like, the weapon, the aquatic cruisers, but it's plus 2 dice. And I think you can get away with this being 4 rather than 5. It's still, it's a lot of potential. And this card really just depends on what your meta has in store. If people run a ton of crew heavy stuff, by all means, Biometric Hologram can really mess their day up. But I still think it would benefit from being just a touch cheaper. I like the effect, though. Reptilian analysis team. I guess if you need even more tech slots, there's places for it. This is our disabled, can be time tokens instead. That's nice, but no way is it good for 5 points, right? 3-point card, yeah, absolutely. Put it in, make it work. Then by all means, I think it's a great card. Patience is for the dead. I do like this being able to attack first. Just strike out that you can't roll any defense dice during the round you use this ability. Because, no. Just no. Alright. I'm going to stop it there for this video. This has gone on for almost a half hour. So, part 2 with the rest of the Xindi faction. Captains, crew, cheaper cards, hopefully. Alright. Till next time, we'll see you around the shipyard. Take care.